Hi friends, welcome back to Azure Content YouTube channel. I'm here again with the third video in Python Real-Time Scenarios playlist. In this video, we will learn how to create a Python program for counting the number of words in a paragraph. So we will create a word counter application in Python wherein the user would be prompted to enter a paragraph. So suppose the user enters, I love Python, Python is cool. So this is the sentence which users enters, and then we are expecting the outcome where we would get the count of each of the words in that paragraph or in that sentence. And then we also want to know what is the most frequently occurred word in that paragraph or in that sentence. So whatever word is occurring the maximum number of times, we need the word to appear here in the output as well as the number of times that word is appearing. So here in this sentence you can see I love Python, Python is cool. In this sentence Python is being repeated 2 times, and the output also tells that Python is the word which is the most frequent word and it has appeared for 2 times. So this is our expected outcome, and let's start writing the code from scratch in order to create this application where the user can enter any paragraph or sentence and we would get the count of each words, and also we would get the most frequently used word in that paragraph. So let me go to Visual Studio Code and start writing the code from scratch. So here I have created the word counter.py file. So it is empty right now. Let's start writing the program here. So first of all, as we know, we have to take the input from the user. So for that, we have something called input function where we can enter the prompt. So the prompt would be enter a paragraph. So this is what will appear in the terminal to the user. Okay. So enter a paragraph, and now we also want to convert the whole paragraph which user would enter into lowercase. So for that I would write dot lower. So why I am doing this is, suppose the user enters the sentence like Python is fun, I love Python. So here you can see the difference. First Python is in caps or camel case, and second Python is in small case. So these two would be treated two different words if we do not convert it into a single uniform character case, right? So we are trying to convert everything into lowercase so that when we start counting the words, these two words would appear same word instead of two different words. Okay. So now I'm going to store this user input into a variable. So say I'm going to write it as text equals to, and then the input which we are getting from the user would be stored in this variable. Okay. So the next step is to convert the user input into a list. So why we are doing it is because we want to iterate through each of the words present in that sentence or in that paragraph, so that while doing that iteration we can go for checking the count of each of the words. So we have to perform looping on that particular list. So we cannot do that on the variable which is of string type, right? So we have to convert it into list. So in that list each word would appear like an item of that list. So to make you understand in a better way, let me try to demo something. For example, let's suppose I'm trying to create a string kind of variable where I'm writing Python is good, Python is fun. Okay. And now what I'm trying to do is, let's try to split this variable using split function. And let's try to print this output. Okay. So let me print whatever we are getting in the text variable, and then we are splitting it. Okay, so let me run this program now. So now you can see what is the output we are getting. We are getting a list where each of the words are coming as the item in this list. Okay, so Python is a single word in this list, and similarly each of the word is appearing as individual words in this list. Okay, so this is what we wanted. We wanted to convert the string kind of variable into a list. So split function is doing it automatically, so we do not have to do any kind of explicit conversion. We are doing it using split function. So we are trying to split the whole paragraph into each of the individual words in the list. Okay, so now let me store it into a list. So I would name it as a list. So now using this list, we can perform iteration on top of each of the words present in this paragraph. Okay, Okay, so of course we know that in order to loop we have to use for loop or while loop. So in our case we will go for loop, and we will say for word in list, and then our loop will start and we will take each of the words, and then what we will do is we will create a dictionary, and we will put each of the words as the key of the dictionary and the count of each of the words as the value for that. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell is, so suppose I would create a dictionary. We all know that in a dictionary, the words will appear in a key value pair, right? So a dictionary in Python would appear like this. It would have a curly braces, and inside this, we would have a key. So suppose this is the key, and it will have a value. Okay, so it will always appear like a key value pair. And similarly, say each of the item in the dictionary will appear like this. It will have a key and the value. So in our case, we want to create a dictionary where we will have each of the words, okay, from this list as the key, and the value would be the count of this word. Okay, so in this sentence you can see Python is appearing twice, so we want to get the count and put it in the dictionary. So suppose is having count as 1, so similarly it will create the entire dictionary. So in order to create this dictionary, we have to loop through this list and then take each of the words and get the count of each of the words and make it as the value for this dictionary. Okay, so just keep it in mind how dictionary should look like. And now let's create the empty dictionary. So I would say the dictionary name is word frequency. Okay, and let me initialize it with an empty dictionary. So a dictionary should be initialized with curly braces. So this is how I'm going to initialize it. So right now our dictionary is empty. What we will do is we will try to assign values to the keys in the dictionary while we will be counting the values from the list. So right now our dictionary is empty. What we want to do is we want to get the words from this list, and we want to get the count of each of the words and put it in the format of key value pair in this dictionary. Okay, so in order to do that, what we are going to do is we want to get the values present in the dictionary, but right now the dictionary is empty. So what I am trying to do is, suppose in my dictionary I have a key value pair. Okay, so suppose I have this key value pair, and if I want to fetch the value for this key, what I would do is I would use the dictionary name. Okay, I would say word frequency. So I would say word frequency. Instead of word frequency, let me just give, for simplicity, just frequency. So this is the dictionary name. So in order to get the value for this dictionary, I would use get function here. What this function would do is it will return me the value for the key if the key is present in the dictionary. Okay. So here I would have to pass my key for which I am trying to fetch out the value. Okay. So suppose let me comment everything, and let me save this by commenting, and I'm just having the dictionary and this get method which I would run here right now to show you what it gives. Okay, okay, I have not printed anything. Let me use print function in order to print it here in the terminal. Okay, so you can see it is able to fetch out the value which is present for my key which I have given here. Okay, but what happens if my dictionary is empty and if I want to get the count of this word which is actually not present in the dictionary? So let's check that. So let me run this, and you can see it is giving me none. So now what I want is, if the key is not present in the dictionary, as in this case it is returning none in the output for the value of this key, right? So instead of none I want to get 0. So here inside the second argument of get function I want to return 0 if the key is not present in the dictionary. Okay, so now in this case instead of none it would return me 0, right? So you can see it is replacing none with 0. Okay, so in our case right now the dictionary is empty. What I want to do is I want to take each of the words and then put it into the dictionary as the key and the count for the word as the value for the dictionary. So what I will do is I will try to assign the value to the key of the dictionary. So to set the value for the key, I will write the dictionary name and then I will open the square bracket here and I will give the key here. So let me hard code it with the same key which we are trying to fetch. Okay, so suppose I am trying to put a key value pair in this dictionary. So I will say the dictionary name and then this is the key, and then I want to give some value to this dictionary. So what value I am going to give is, so suppose I am going to give, so this is going to return me 0 as you have seen here. Okay, this is the output of this print statement. Okay, so let me comment this one out. Okay, and I'm going to add some value to this dictionary now. So this is going to be the key, and then this will return 0, and I don't want to have the count as 0, I want to have it as 1. So I will just explicitly add 1 to that, to the count. Okay, so now my dictionary would be overwritten with this as the key and the value would be 1. So let me try to print this dictionary now, and let's see what is the output here that we are going to get. So now you can see our dictionary is getting the value which we are trying to assign here. So Anu is the key here and the value for that key is 1, because at this particular moment when this command is running, the value for Anu is 0 because it is an empty dictionary, and then we are trying to explicitly add 1 to it, and then the count would be 1, and this is the same thing which we are trying to assign to the dictionary. So now the dictionary would be having the value as Anu and 1. Okay, so now with this understanding in mind, let's try to resume writing the code. Okay, so let me uncomment all the necessary things here. Okay, so we are taking the input from the user. Suppose the user is going to give this as the input, and then simply we are trying to convert it into list format, which will give us each of the values in this list as separate words in the list. Okay, and then we are trying to create an empty dictionary. Now we are trying to iterate through each of the words present in this list, which is basically this words. These words would be iterated each time, and we are simply trying to assign value into this dictionary using this particular concept which we just talked about. Okay, so inside the loop I am going to call this dictionary, and as we discussed, we are going to open the square braces, and here each of the words we have to put in the dictionary as the key, right? So each of the word we are getting while iterating, we are getting in the word in this variable called word. Okay, so each of the word it will take from the list. Okay, and in this key we are going to assign some value, right? So what would be the value? We would take the existing value from this dictionary. So currently this is the dictionary which is an empty dictionary, and we will use get function. Now currently what is the output that this will return? It will return none, right? Because in this dictionary there is no such word called Python. If we talk about the first iteration, it would take Python as the word and it will try to get the value for the word called Python, but currently the dictionary is empty, so it will return none. And now instead of none we want to replace it with 0, so that's why I'm going to use comma 0, because by default it will return none, but instead of none I want to explicitly give it as 0 because the dictionary is empty and I want to play with integer because I want to get the count. So right now the dictionary is empty, it will return 0 for the first iteration which is Python, and I want to explicitly add 1 to it because we are inserting this into the dictionary which is currently empty. So we are inserting the value into the dictionary along with the key called Python. Okay, so for first iteration the word would be Python, which is going to be the key of this dictionary, and the value for this key would be 0 plus 1, which is 1. So we are explicitly adding 1 and then we are inserting this key value into this dictionary. Okay, so now if I try to print this dictionary, okay, let me try to print this list as well. Print list. Okay, and let me remove commented lines. Okay, and I will use it as a user input. So let me clear the terminal, and now let me call this Python file, and now I'm entering this user input. So now you can see this is the list, okay, which is the user input, right? So user has entered this line, which is Python is good, Python is fun. So you can see it is converted into a list, and then this is the output which we are getting as the dictionary. So this you can validate Python is getting counted 2 times here, and it is returning the value as 2, and is also 2 times, so it is also giving 2 as the value, and good is 1, fun is 1. So this is how we can create a counter for the dictionary. So what we did in order to get the count for each of the words in the list and put it in the dictionary as key value pair is little tricky. Here, as you can see, we initialized an empty dictionary, and then we iterated through the each of the words present in the list, and what we did is we tried to set the value for each of the key in the dictionary, which is basically each of the words from coming from the list with the value, which is basically the count for that particular value in the dictionary. So for the first iteration, the count would be 0 for each of the words, and we are trying to explicitly add 1 to it. So for first iteration, it would have the value as 1, and when the iteration comes the second time, so suppose the word comes again in the sentence for the second time, then the count would increase to 2 because we are adding 1 to the existing value. Okay. So now this is the traditional method of getting the count for each of the words. If we do not have any modules or any libraries in Python, this is how we would write our code. But in Python, we know that things are very easy and we have a lot of modules that we can make use of. So one such module is called collection module. Okay, so from collection module, we can use something called, we can import something called counter. Okay, so here in the built-in modules for Python, you can see if I go for character C, here you can search for collections. So here you can see in the collection module, there is something called counter. Okay, so you can make use of this counter class, which will be able to give you the counting of hashable objects. Okay, so it is the collection where elements are stored as dictionary keys and their counts are stored as dictionary values. So you can get the values of the dictionary using this counter class. Okay, so that's what we are trying to import here. So now you might also have a question in mind if you are a beginner in Python, that sometimes we just simply import the modules. For example, we have imported in our first video, we have imported OS module, and sometimes we have to use from collections import, and then we have to use some module or some class, right? So you might think that why we cannot simply import counter, why it is not accessible, and why we have to sometimes use from and then some module and then we can import some functions, and instead sometimes we just directly import OS or import some other modules. So the answer to this is, if you want to import one particular class out of this module, then we will go for from this module name import this particular class or any function. If we want to import any particular function or any particular class, then we would write from the module name and then import the function name or the class name. But if we want to import the whole module itself, then we would write import and then the module name. So in this uh, example, what we are going to do is we are going to import the counter class out of this collections module. So now we can make use of this counter class in collection module, wherein we do not need to use this logic in order to count each of the words by iterating through each of the words present in the list and then putting the key and value into that dictionary by explicitly adding 1 to it. So all this logic we do not need to give if we use the counter class. So in order to use the counter class, I will simply write counter, and inside the argument here, what I'm going to give is I'm going to give the list here. Okay, so inside this class, I'm going to pass the list. So what it will do is it will take the words from each words from the list and then count the occurrence of this word and put it in the dictionary automatically. and then it will create a dictionary like this for each of the words along with their count. Okay, so let me simply assign this value into the dictionary that we have created here. Okay, so I'm going to put this value into the uh, frequency dictionary. So now if I try to run this, let me give the same input here. So now you can see it is giving the same output that we were getting when we were using this logic. Okay, so we are getting Python as 2 is as 2, good and fun is having one occurrence. Okay, so as we understood, we can directly import the whole module itself. So instead of importing one class, we can import the whole collection module itself. Okay, so now you can see this is giving error because we are not importing this counter class, we are importing the whole module itself. So in order to access this counter class, we have to write the module name and then dot and then this class name. Okay, so if we do that, it should give me the same result as we were getting when we imported only counter class. Okay, so suppose I'm going to give the same input here, and now you can see it is working fine. So either you can import a particular class or a function from the module, or you can import the whole module and use the function which you require. Okay. So there should be no confusion about it. Why sometimes we use from module name and then import some class or function, or sometimes we directly import the module. Okay, so you can very well directly import the whole module and use the necessary functions whenever required. Okay, now we are able to get the count for each of the words present in the user input. Now our motto is to get the most frequently used word and its count. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a variable called maximum count, and I'm going to uh, initialize it with 0, and then I'm going to create another variable called maximum used word. Okay, maximum used word, and then I'm going to initialize it with empty string because this is going to have word as the output, so it should be a string variable. Okay, so now I want to iterate through each of the key value pair present in the frequency dictionary, right? So in order to do that, let me try to use for, say, key comma value in the dictionary called frequency. Okay, and suppose if I want to print the key value pair. Okay, so say I want to print the key and the value. Okay, so if I do this, let me try to see if it works. So here I want to enter the paragraph. So here you can see it is saying the error is too many values to unpack. So basically it can return only key or only value. In dictionary, if you want to loop through, you can only get key. So for example, if I try to run now, and if I try to give this again, so you can see it is able to iterate through the key but not the value. So in order to get the value as well, okay, so if you want key as well as value, then we need to use something called items. This items, what it will do is it will convert each of the key value pair into tuples. As you can see here, it returns a set like object providing a view on dictionary's item. So now if I try to print key as well as value, now it will give us both the key and the value. Okay, so let me give the same paragraph here. So now you can see it is returning key as well as the value here. Okay. So now I want to write a logic to calculate the maximum number of occurrence of any word and the count of that word. So the maximum used word, I want to get it from the paragraph which is entered by the user, and I want to calculate the maximum occurrence of that particular word. So here what we will do is we will use if condition to check if the value which is these values which is the value of each of the key, right? So if value is greater than the max count, the one which we have initialized here, if this value is greater than the max count, then max count becomes this value. Okay, so max count variable will hold this particular value for each of the words, and at the same time we want to give value to the maximum used word as the key, right? Because key is holding the word. Okay, so suppose for the first iteration, Python is the word, right, in the dictionary. So it will take Python and its value is 2. So key value would be Python 2. So if value for this key is 2, right? So 2 is greater than 0. So maximum count will become 2 and maximum used word will become Python. Now it will take the second value, which is and 2. So same, it will take is and 2, and if the value is 2, 2 is greater than 2, because from the last iteration maximum count has become 2. So if 2 is greater than 2, then this, if this holds true, since it is not holding true, it will remain as it is and we will get Python and 2 as the output. Suppose user enters is as 3 times, then this will, maximum count will change because the value is 3 and 3 is greater than 2. So the maximum count will become 3 and maximum used word will become is. Okay, so we will get to see the example. So now let me print this, saying that the most used word is, what is that? We are storing it in this variable and it appearing for how many times? We are storing it in this variable. Okay. Okay, so as we know in from the previous video, it will treat it as a string unless and until we use something called f here, so that it will treat it as a formatted string. So now you can see the color of this has changed, and it will, instead of treating it as a string, it will get the value for this variable. Okay, so we are good now. Let me give /n here to treat it as the next line. Okay, so now if I try to run this code, you can see, let me enter a paragraph. I will say maybe Python is very good, Python is fun, it's it is easy. Okay, so you can see 3 times we are getting is and Python is 2 times, so we should get the maximum used word as is and the count for it should be 3. So let's enter, and here you can see most used word is, and it is appearing 3 times. So this is working as expected. If you do not want unnecessary prints, so let me comment it out. Okay, I just want the last line. So suppose if I enter Anu, hello, Anu. Okay, so you can see Anu is coming twice, hello is coming once, and Anu is the word which is appearing as the most used word for 2 times. Okay, so this is how you can write your code. So please try to practice on your own by watching this video, and try to start writing the code in Python. So I hope this video is useful, and I hope you are also trying to follow along with me. So that's it for this video, guys. Please stay tuned for this playlist, and please hit on like button, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet. Thank you.